ask you a question. Here's a question. Here's a good, serious question. Okay, ladies, if you didn't have a vagina, like say it was a terrible train accident, right? And the doctor was like, we have to remove your pussy right away or you're gonna die. How would you keep your man past, you get a 2-month guilty, I can't leave the bitch right away because you just lost a pussy in a train accident. Can't just walk right out on him. How would you keep your man past that if you didn't have a vagina? Wow. Nothing? You can talk. Suck his dick. Okay. Mouth. Asshole. Okay, great. You see what I'm saying? Now, I've been getting pussy beamed the whole show, right? But I give women the opportunity to say, I'm going to make myself worth more. But you just classified yourself as a series of holes. But I'm supposed to treat you special, but you're just a bunch of holes to yourself. No one said learn how to play Xbox, learn how to play pool, tell better stories, get another bitch that got a pussy to come on in. Well, look, whatever. Plus, when you get a certain age, pussy is not what it was when you was younger. I like pussy differently. I don't know what the difference is, but it's like I don't get excited about the idea of getting pussy. Like, I only fuck so I have a memory to jerk off to later. I can't enjoy it until later on when I'm jerking off to it. I'm like, oh, this is going to be good as a motherfucker later. When I'm beating off to it, when I could just really enjoy this shit. Instead of looking. I've been jerking off in the shower so long, I'm surprised a baby hasn't crawled out the drain yet. I'm just saying. You know what it is? Like, it's sad. It really is. Like that you feel so comfortable making us miserable. I don't understand what it is. Like, what is that? What is it? Well, you just go, hey, I'm comfy. I'm just comfy. It's reverse rape. It's not the same rape like men inflict upon women. And if you could, ladies, you would rape us. You would come out of a bush with a gun. Give me some dick, motherfucker. But we be laughing at you. First of all, what you got a gun for? Shut up, motherfucker. Pull your dick out. You got to pretend to be scared. Oh, God. Please. Make me fuck you. So what you do is it's emotional. It's a different kind of rape. Because you don't deal with rejection. Women are not built to be rejected on a daily basis. So if you was to let a guy know how you feel about him every day, and he's like, look, I don't like you like that, that would just destroy you. So what you do is you force us to have emotions first that you already have, but you make us say it first so you don't get rejected from your emotion. Here's woman rape. Ready? You miss me?
You miss me? Alright, well, hey, how's everybody doing? Same thing, same date, everything. Welcome to the Last Splinter Podcast. Welcome to the second little part here. I did the whole, jock shit for a while here, so, yeah, let's get into, the bread and butter of this, goofy little podcast here, and let's talk about some shit here. Of course, who you were listening to was the great and unfortunately late Patrice O'Neal in his One Night Stand HBO special back in the mid-2000s, if I recall. And this is that's literally my favorite and most genius, most modern. This is the most timeless bit of all time. It's not the whole you miss me. That's kind of part of it a little bit, but I've never really experienced it as much, but what I do experience all the time is ladies talking about how they want to be valued more than than their sexuality and then just their bodies and stuff like that, and then a chunk of them, a very majority chunk of them will do all these things, push their tits up, get all the makeups, and that's not for you. It's not. Well, some of it's not for us. I get it. I'm comfortable with that. It's fine. I'm not intimidated by a strong, independent woman. It's not that. It's not that at all. It's not intimidation. It's the fact that I'm not uncomfortable by a strong, independent woman. What I'm uncomfortable with is a quote unquote independent woman. I'm uncomfortable with liars. That's what I'm uncomfortable with. So that's what, in my personal opinion and in my experience, is so brilliant about that first half of that bit there. Is I want to be strong more than I want to be treated more than, why do you guys treat us like, well, from your records it proves that you don't treat yourself more than just a sex object, so maybe it's your fault. Oh, well, you're just blaming the victim. No. It's called taking responsibility for your actions, motherfucker. It's called taking responsibility for your actions. You can't be mad at your cell phone company for wanting their money when you haven't paid them. Oh, is that rape culture? Oh, Jesus Christ! You fucking SJWs, you just don't stop, do you? You just don't stop. No, the point being is, if you act a certain way, if you do a certain thing, if you have a certain service, or what have you, being the whole, I'm sexy and I sexy and I know it, and I got my tits out and my skirt up and blah 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 blah. How do you expect to be treated? I got a cell phone, I got the bill, I got the contract, I got all this. And then, when the month comes, am I supposed to be surprised when they say, hey, well, you signed this contract, you did all these things, so where's the money at? Hey, is this your way of saying that prostitution should be illegal? Jesus, no. I don't know how. No. But, with the modern SJWs, you never know where they're going to go. Just like me. Point being is, it's like you can't expect people to react in a certain way, because you put yourself out there like that. Women that dress themselves a certain way and all that stuff like that. I'm not talking about rape and all that crap. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the simple fact that if you act a certain way, do certain things, then you can't be surprised. Just like, getting a bill at the end of the month. You can't be surprised about that. But this podcast is not about that. What am I talking about? This is just the Patrice O'Neal greatest hits. What am I talking about here? Just a bunch of white male privilege, heteronormative xenophobia, whatever phobias you like, trans, and I hate everything that's not white hair male. Woo! This podcast is about the Jordan Peterson versus Cathy Newmanl interview, basically. And for anybody who doesn't know who Jordan Peterson is, a couple of years ago, he's a professor. He's been a professor for decades. He's a professor that got under fire a couple of years ago for the whole not conforming to the whole gender pronoun thing, through the whole legal law thing. That's what he's talking about. And there's a million interviews and articles that actually don't slander him and libel him, to where that's actually true, because he's literally said that a million times, and which you'll hear here. But yeah, he got under fire for that, and he became pretty big because of that. Thank Christ, because he's a brilliant man, and he's not transphobic. He doesn't even he doesn't mind acknowledging transgenders and all that stuff. He doesn't mind that. what he does mind is the fact that if you are forcing legal repercussions on human beings for not acknowledging it, then he has a problem. So let's get into the interview. I mean, if any guys don't know this whole Jordan Peterson and Cathy Newmanl interview, it's a 30-minute thing about the gender pay gap and campus culture and, you know, transphobia, blah blah, you know, all this stuff. It's a very stimulating and interesting interview because it just echoes how unfortunately the political left or leftists of the world and social justice warriors of the world get pandered, and how they influence and how their rhetoric is basically ruining communication and ruining culture in the West, especially in America too. So this whole and media is a big part of it. Media is a huge part of that too, and you'll see it here. So you know, you'll see media manipulation, or as Trump calls it, fake news, which I can, you know, and that's, you know, I'm not a Trump fan. I want him to not suck, but I am definitely not a good old Trump fan. But this is where, to a good degree, this is where the whole fake news comes from, and not supporting the media, blah blah. This is where it comes from, and hating the left, and this is where this whole thing comes from. Hating social justice wars, hating the media, hating the leftist media, hating, you know, this is this is a relevant example of why we hate, they hate, we all hate, whatever category you like being in, these particular groups. And so here you go. This is a good example of how the media handles anybody who doesn't pander towards non-whites, non-heterosexuals, and non-females.
Let me move on to another debate that's been very controversial for you. And this is, you got in trouble for refusing to call trans men and women by their preferred personal pronouns.
No, that's not actually true. I got in trouble because I said I would not follow the compelled speech dictates of the federal and provincial government. I actually never got in trouble for not calling anyone anything.
Right.
That didn't happen.
You wouldn't follow the change of law, which was designed
not
to
once it was
outlaw
law.
discrimination.
No.
Well,
that's what they said it was designed to do.
Okay, you cited freedom of speech in that. Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Holy good God Almighty. And let's just hear her out. One of the worst questions and most cunty contradicting questions I've ever heard in my life. And I've been following this shit for like 5 years, and I've never heard such a contradicting, douchebag, awful, condescending, and a question in my entire life. But here you go.
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like, you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
Well, I'm very glad I put you on the spot.
Okay. So I can put you in the spot, but you can't put me in the spot. Oh, the whole do as I say, not as I do spiel. See the entitlement and the the entitlement and the condescension and the hypocrisy of it. Oh, calling the kettle black. There's so many examples, metaphors, analogies that you could say with just in this 20 seconds alone. It's depressing how stupid this shit is, and yet people do not see it.
Well, you get my point. You get my point. It's like you're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on.
So
and that is what you should do. But you're exercising your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me. And that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
So you haven't...
Oh, he supports rape culture. I can tell. He loves rape of women. I can tell that. You hear this? Did you hear his answer? He I mean, it's funny because these social justice warriors and these leftist just psychopaths that are so tribal, feminists and all that stuff. Does anybody? I mean, as far as a huge old school metal fan and rock fan, does anybody remember in the 70s and especially the 80s, 70s especially in the 80s? In the 70s there was this whole and 80s too. There was this whole with rock music and stuff, there was this whole a hidden messages thing with rock and roll music, especially hardcore music, to where they would tell you there's subliminal message if you did the whole spin the record backwards, and then there was a thing to where that Judas Priest was doing this whole do it thing, and there's literally records of this in media and journalists where they study this stuff to where they are delving into the fact that where they think that the metal and especially metal, but hard rock and metal musicians want their fans to kill themselves and kill people and commit suicide and all this other crazy shit. There's literally mountains of data to show that this is what they believe. The PMRC is a big one. Look up the PMRC, the Dirty Dozen or the Top 10, whatever. I forget the name of it, but one of you guys listening to this will know it. But I forgot what it's called. But it was the PMRC's by Tipper Gore, all that crap. In 85, I think 85, is when it started. Maybe 85 rather. Right after 1984 Van Halen, so it's I think it was 85. So yeah, Al Gore's wife Tipper Gore was one of the heads, was the head of it, and so yeah, she was the whole subliminal messages and this music, these musics, and all that stuff like that is ruining and corrupting our kids, and so this is what the liberals are sounding like nowadays. It's the leftists and the socialist warriors, mind you, rather. It's weird how the Bill O'Reillys and all these other really conservative religious rights and all these other nutcases back in the 80s, 70s, 60s, and 80s, and how they reacted to music and rock and roll and Elvis Presley and rock and roll and heavy metal, and how they reacted to it, and how they politically and socially influence and try to influence by law, which they actually did. The PMRC actually influenced the whole parental advisory stickers on the CDs and records and tapes and all that stuff like that. That was the PMRC that influenced that. They actually passed that by law. So it's just very interesting. And to be honest, if I were to be honest here, it's a child, a 12-year-old child shouldn't hear a bunch of swear words and sex and all that stuff like that without the parents' consent. And I think that there should be a parental advisory thing on music too, just like there's movies. I can't make this argument, but I do not know exactly when the whole one of you guys look this up. But when did movies did the whole PG-13 and rated R stuff? I mean, was it in the 80s, 60s? I can't imagine it being in the 60s and 70s, especially with movies not being that influential, especially. But I agree that there should be a parental advisory thing there. But as far as the whole what the politicians and all that stuff and the parents were and the religious psychopath nutcases were saying that that these bands are supporting all these violent acts on human being, on society, on God and Jesus Christ Almighty, all this stuff. It's just really weird, especially since so many people in my family, including myself, not to sound like a wannabe poetic douche, but I'm going to, is that we bleed this stuff, the music, and yet for some reason we're not barbarians. For some, so that is my point. Is for some reason free speech not with music, not with TV, but with just expressing your political opinions or your social-economic opinions and all that stuff on race, religion, culture, gender, it's all that. For some reason, that it has the same type of stifling, suffocating thing that the liberal left, the leftists, whatever you like to call the fuckers, I don't care. Religious righties, conservatives, I don't care. Just whatever it's comfortable to you. Actually, you're incorrect by saying that because there's a lot. Oh God, really? All right, well, that's nice. But the point is, the people on the left and the social justice warriors and the feminists and the Black Lives Matter and all that stuff, particularly mainly the social justice warriors and the leftists and the feminists. I mean, the Black Lives Matter don't have too much of an impact, which is actually, thank God, for the most part, has been influencing the whole culture thing on free speech for the most part. But they have had a good chunk of cases, though. But still, it just seems to me the same fucking thing. It really does, unfortunately. So, let's get back into this atrocious interview.
I sat there and I'm just trying to work that out. I mean,
Ha! Gotcha.
you have got me. I'm trying to work that through in my head. Yeah. It took a while.
It did. Yeah.
It took a while. You have voluntarily come into the studio and agreed to be questioned. Mm-hmm. A trans person in your class has come to your class and said they want to be called
That's
she.
never happened. And I would call them she.
So you would. So you've kind of changed your tune on that.
No, I said that right from the beginning.
So you've changed your tune on your stance. No. The point that he's been trying to say is the fact that the whole legality thing of it, that if someone should be punished legally for not saying, for inadvertently or purposely not saying or not acknowledging someone's gender, that's the point. There's mounds of data to prove that.
What I said at the beginning was that I was not going to cede the linguistic territory to radical leftists, regardless of whether or not it was put in law. That's what I said. And then the people who came after me said, oh, you must be transphobic and you mistreat a student in your class. It's like, I never mistreated a student in my class. I'm not transphobic, and that isn't what I said.
Well, except you've also called trans campaigners authoritarian, haven't you? I mean, isn't that
well, only in the broader context of my claims that radical leftist ideologues are authoritarian,
yes,
which they are.
You're saying someone who's trying to work out their gender identity, who may well have struggled with that, had quite a tough time over the years. You're comparing them with, Chairman Mao, who saw the deaths of millions of people. Well, even if the activists, they're trans people too. They have a right to say these things.
Yeah, but they don't have a right to speak for their whole community.
To compare them to Chairman Mao, Pinochet, Augusto Pinochet. I mean, this is grossly insensitive.
I didn't compare them to Pinochet.
Well,
I did compare them to
he was an authoritarian.
He's a right-winger, though. I was comparing them to the left-wing totalitarians. Okay. And I do believe they are left-wing totalitarians.
Under Mao, millions of people died.
Right.
I mean, there's no comparison between Mao and a trans activist, is there?
Why not?
Because trans activists aren't killing millions of people?
The philosophy that's guiding their utterances is the same philosophy.
The consequences are...
Not yet.
You're saying that trans activists could lead to the deaths of millions of people?
I'm saying that the philosophy that drives their utterances is the same philosophy that already has driven us to the deaths of millions of people.
Okay, tell us how that philosophy is in any way comparable.
Sure, that's no problem. The first thing is that the philosophy presumes that group identity is paramount. That's the fundamental philosophy that drove the Soviet Union and Maoist China. And it's the fundamental philosophy of the left-wing activists. It's identity politics. It doesn't matter who you are as an individual. It matters who you are in terms of your group identity.
Yep. And this is where the liberal lefties ruin themselves as far as policy goes, as far as their arguments goes, as far as humanity goes, as far as truth goes. This is always based on identity politics. It's not the fact that it's not rooted in the simple fact that we need to change politics and all that, policies and politics and philosophy and sociology. The fact that, people are victims. But it's a simple fact that we need to change things to make it better and over. We need to make it better for pretty much everybody, which is, the white, heterosexual, male, the whole thing. So we need to make it to where we're on their level, if not better. And when you're over that, like in college, oh my God, what enrollment and all that stuff like that. Like Latino females are higher on the enrollment than white males, and that's great. That's fine. I have no care, no question, no blah. It's just how it is. It's great. But my thing is, if you're talking about equality and all that stuff like that, but why would you not question that? That's the point. Why would you not question the 94, 97% death rate on the job when it comes to males compared to females? I mean, females are literally 5 to 2% of on the job deaths. And suicide, it's 80%, around 70%, around 90, whatever it is, around there, are men. Why would you not mention that? I mean, there's no prison. Feminists don't go to prisons, male prisons, and say, "Hey, this rape's got to stop." No, identity politics. It's just a cancer. They've turned it into a cancer. It's sad.
Just saying these things, though, to provoke, aren't you? I mean,
Not
you
a
are
bit.
a provocateur.
I never said
You're like
anything.
the alt-right that you hate to be compared to. You want to stir things up.
I'm only a provocateur insofar as when I say what I believe to be true, it's provocative. I don't provoke. Maybe for
You don't
humor
set out to
now
provoke.
and then. I'm not interested in provoking.
But what
Not
about
in
the thing
least.
about, fighting and the lobster? Tell us about the lobster.
Well, that's quite a segue. Well, the first chapter I have in my book is called Stand Up Straight with Your Shoulders Back. And it's an injunction to be combative, not least to further your career, let's say, but also to adopt a stance of ready engagement with the world and to reflect that in your posture. And the reason that I write about lobsters is because there's this idea that hierarchical structures are a sociological construct of the Western patriarchy. And that is so untrue that it's almost unbelievable. And I use the lobster as an example because the lobster, we divulged from lobsters in evolutionary history about 350 million years ago, common ancestor. And lobsters exist in hierarchies, and they have a nervous system attuned to the hierarchy. And that nervous system runs on serotonin, just like our nervous systems do. And the nervous system of the lobster and of the human being is so similar that antidepressants work on lobsters. And it's part of my attempt to demonstrate that the idea of hierarchy has absolutely nothing to do with sociocultural construction, which it doesn't.
Let me just get this straight. You're saying that we should organise our societies along the lines of the lobsters.
I'm saying that it's inept.
This bitch sucks. Oh, God. Oh, God. Well, good thing I got another video set for you guys. Jesus Christ. To prove how fucking stupid this chick is. Or manipulative, or abusive, or dumb. Whatever it is. But it's one of those. It's definitely not that she was just being professional. It's definitely not her being professional. Because that is not at all the case.
Inevitable that there will be continuity in the way that animals and human beings organize their structures. It's absolutely inevitable. And there is 1/3 of a billion years of evolutionary history behind that. Right? That's so long that 1/3 of a billion years ago, there weren't even trees. It's a long time. You have a mechanism in your brain that runs on serotonin that's similar to the lobster mechanism that tracks your status. And the higher your status, the better your emotions are regulated. So as your serotonin levels increase, you feel more positive emotion and less negative emotion.
So you're saying, like the lobsters, we're hardwired as men and women to do certain things, to sort of run along tram lines and there's nothing we can do about it.
No, I'm not saying there's nothing we can do about it, because it's like in a chess game, right? There's lots of things that you can do, although you can't break the rules of the chess game and continue to play chess. Your biological nature is somewhat like that, is it sets the rules of the game, but within those rules you have a lot of leeway. But the idea but one thing we can't do is say that hierarchical organization is a consequence of the capitalist patriarchy. It's like, that's patently absurd. It's wrong. It's not a matter of opinion. It's seriously wrong.
Aren't you just whipping people up into a state of anger? And
not at all.
Divisions between men and women, you're stirring people up. You have any critics of you online get absolutely lambasted by your followers. You've
and
got to
by
call
me,
them off,
generally.
Sorry, your critics get lambasted by you. I mean,
If
isn't
they're
that
academics,
irresponsible?
not at all. If an academic is going to come after me and tell me that I'm not qualified and that I don't know what I'm talking about,
So you're not going to say to your followers now, quit the abuse, quit the anger?
Well, we'd need some substantial examples of the abuse and the anger before I could detail that question.
There's a lot of it out there.
Let's take a more general perspective on that. So I've had 25,000 letters since June, something like that, from people who told me that I've brought them back from the brink of destruction. And so I'm perfectly willing to put that up against the rather vague accusations that my followers are making the lives of people that I've targeted miserable.
What's in it for the women, though?
Well, what sort of partner do you want? You want an overgrown child? Or do you want someone to contend with that's going to help you and that
So
you
you're
can
saying
rely on?
women have some sort of duty to sort of help fix the crisis of masculinity?
It depends on what they want. No, I mean, it's exactly how I laid it out. Like, women deeply want men who are competent and powerful. And I don't mean power in that they can exert tyrannical control over others. That's not power. That's just corruption. Power is competence. And why in the world would you not want a competent partner? Well, I know why, actually. You can't dominate a competent partner. So if you want
women
domination,
want to dominate, is that what you're saying?
no, I'd say women who have had their relationships their relationships with men impaired, and who are afraid of such relationships will settle for a weak partner because they can dominate them. But it's a suboptimal solution.
Do you think that's what a lot of women are doing?
I think there's a substantial minority of women who do that. And I think it's very bad for them. They're very unhappy. It's very bad for their partners, although the partners get the advantage of not having to take any responsibility.
But what gives you the right to say that? I mean, maybe that's how women want their relationships, those women. I mean, you're making these vast generalizations.
I'm a clinical psychologist.
Right, so you're saying you've done your research and women are unhappy dominating men.
I didn't say they were unhappy dominating men. I said it was a bad long-term solution.
Okay, you said it was
It's not
making
the
them
same
miserable.
thing. Yes, it is. And it depends on the time frame. I mean, there's intense pleasure in momentary domination. That's why people do it all the time. But it's no formula for a successful long-term relationship. That's reciprocal, right? Any long-term relationship is reciprocal.
Yeah, so basically you just heard what not to do as an interviewer. Wow. And that was literally just a third of the interview, and unfortunately for the interviewer rather, Cathy Newmanl, is that she pretty much she had the same context and the same go ahead, what have you, in the other 2/3 of the interview. So yeah, that was basically what not to do when you're interviewing somebody, and not what this must be one of the worst, most manipulative, most disgusting interviews I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot, to where I've seen the religious right, the Bill O'Reilly douchebag. Ugh, that guy's such a... Ugh. God, I hate that guy. How much I hate that guy. He's got some good points, but some is all that he has, pretty much, in my opinion. But he is one of the most... what's that? The bald, fatted douchebag radio guy that just... religious right guy that just says a bunch of crazy crap just to get views. Or listens or whatever. Rush Limbaugh. There we go. She is doing that Rush Limbaugh crap. To where she's just saying manipulative garbage just to get views. Or she's an idiot. So, basically I got a compilation from this interview. This is a 2.5 minute video. And I'm not going to interrupt, I'm not going to interrupt this 2.5 minutes here of this compilation of, so what you're saying is, so just listen to it for yourself, and this is not, this is, the only reason why I'm, putting this video up here on my noble podcast, right? So full of shit. On my podcast is the fact that I've watched this interview multiple times, and this compilation of you're saying. So what you're saying is not slanderous. It really isn't, and unfortunately, it's not. So so this is pretty much the nice little compilation of why Cathy Newman is a piece of garbage interviewer.
Unhappy dominating men.
I didn't say they were unhappy dominating men.
You're just saying that's the way it is.
Well, I'm not saying
But you're
anything.
saying basically it doesn't matter if women aren't getting to the top. You're saying, well, that's just a fact of
No, I'm
life.
saying
Women
it
aren't
doesn't
necessarily
matter.
going to get to the top.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't matter either.
You're saying, and you're saying
Since
if
you
it's at
can't,
the
you
cost
can't.
of men, that's a problem.
That is so untrue that it's almost unbelievable.
I've
Unfortunate.
fought to get where I've got.
That's fine. I think more power to you, as far as I'm concerned.
It took a while.
It did, yeah.
It took a while. You're saying it's because women are too agreeable to ask for pay rises. You're saying that women aren't intelligent enough?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
You're saying that trans activists
No.
could lead to the deaths of millions of people?
You have a mechanism in your brain that's seriously wrong. The data on that's pretty clear.
Well, I've struggled with that. Had quite a
No
tough
doubt
time
you've
over the
struggled
years.
with it, yeah.
You're saying that we should organise our societies along the lines of the lobsters.
The lobster,
Millions of people died fighting the lobster. Tell us about the lobster.
I don't know what you mean by the question.
You're saying the lobsters have to sort of become men to succeed, but you're saying that makes them unhappy.
That's silly. I think that's silly. I really do.
You're saying, like the lobsters, you buy a blue bicycle helmet, run along tram lines, and there's nothing we can do about it.
That's patently absurd. I'm not interested in lobsters. Get your
Right.
act together. Develop yourself.
But you're saying it's not because of gender, it's because women are too
Stop.
agreeable. You're saying women are just more sensible.
said
They
stop.
don't want that because it's not a nice problem. You're saying it's not because of gender.
You've
It's
done
not a
that.
fair
I've done
way of
that
proceeding.
many, many times. This conversation, you do it all the time.
I want to ask you, do you agree that I'm not going to get the top job I want?
Of course.
So,
Of course.
is it because I'm miserable?
That's part of it, definitely. It's not the only reason. I mean, look at your situation. You're hardly smart. You're bitter and resentful and without purpose and hostile. They're simply not going to say, please take the position.
I might as well just go and play with my Cindy dolls.
You can. Yeah, that's fine.
Mao.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Mao.
That's,
Mao and Mao.
but it's happening.
Mao.
I do believe
Mao.
they are very,
Mao.
very,
Mao.
very uncomfortable.
Mao.
Oh, God.
Mao.
That's
Mao.
25,000 times you've said that. What the hell's going on?
Jordan Peterson, thank you.
It's been rather uncomfortable.
So, of course, as you know, this podcast, we support the truth. Oh, God, that was so good. Meow. Oh, did anybody think of Super Troopers then? Right, meow? Huh? Whew, boy, that was fucking funny. Oh, God, that was good. So, yeah, that was pretty much it with that. Oh, God. And the sad thing is, it's you think that'd be ridiculous, but it's relatively pretty close to what how she interviewed Professor Jordan Peterson there. It really is, and you got to listen to that interview with Jordan Peterson with Cathy Newmanl, because that's it's just brilliant. I don't know how you can beat that. I sincerely don't. Let me type some stuff here. There we go. But yeah, it's just ridiculous, because it's just a perfect way to slander somebody. Perfect way to slander somebody. And for some reason, it does not get acknowledged. Oh, and here's an interesting take. Have you guys heard? You've heard of Dr. Christine Summers and all that stuff like that. Oh God, this is a big one. Yeah, the whole Me Too thing. And for and this actually is going to be a new video for me, because I have no idea what she says in this video, but yeah, this is basically Dr. Christina Summers' take on the Me Too movement, how she's going to break it down in this video. So I don't condone or support or not support, So yeah, this is Dr. Christina Summers' take on this whole thing. Is the whole Me Too movement has been wonderful for women. Thank God, because thank God women won't be are fighting for the fact that they don't have to be sexually abused and assaulted and raped, in that world. And I just hope that they have the respect to acknowledge the fact that there's women out there that will screw to and use and abuse them men to get the point across, or women to get the point across and get their jobs and all stuff like that. But of course, that's not going to happen for a while. But let's see. Who knows? Maybe we'll get to the point to where women can actually acknowledge the fact that women are fucking assholes, just like men are. But we'll see. We'll see. But this is Dr. Christina Summers' Me Too movement or witch hunt, factual feminist video here. So we shall see what she has to say about that. And there we go. And that's not the right button. So there we go.
The Me Too awakening is an historic moment. It has the potential to correct long-tolerated abuses and to lead to a new era of understanding and respect between men and women. Please, let's not allow it to be hijacked by delusions of gender Armageddon. That's coming up next on The Factual Feminist. Harper's Bazaar.
And by the way, you gotta... this is all Dr. Christina Summers' videos. It's on the YouTube page, American Enterprise Institute. So yeah, just follow that, like it, and all that good stuff, because without that, I wouldn't have my content. So I have to do the whole not slanderous and libel on that abusing the whatever. I don't know what it is, but it's basically this content here is all them and Dr. Christina Summers. So they have so many videos that I think are very interesting and very relevant. And do I think that they are kind of one-sided? Yeah, I think they are. But if you jerk off to the daily news or whatever side of the propaganda pool that you swim in, just swim in this one also, because I'm an artist. Sounds so fancy, don't I? But yeah, just God, I stink. Just look up this one, American Enterprise Institute on YouTube. So yeah, this is the Dr. Christina Summers page right here on the American Institute Enterprise Institute. So yeah, just look that up. Very interesting, very very interesting. I've mentioned this multiple times on my podcast. There you go. So here you go. And fucking up technology yet again. There we go.
A popular fashion magazine recently ran an article about the notorious date Gender Armageddon. That's coming up next.
God, I really suck with technology.
Harper's Bazaar, a popular fashion magazine, recently ran an article about the notorious date between Aziz Ansari and an anonymous woman known as Grace. Many asked, why didn't Grace just leave? The Harper's article offered an increasingly common explanation. Perhaps she was frightened. Women often go along with unwanted sex on dates because, the article claims, women are afraid men will murder them.
Well, good thing that's not sexist at all, right? Is that sexist? No, it's not. Is it sexist to say that, women are afraid that the men will murder them? Again, I'm curious, like, if, people like to do this, and I'm worried about doing this, because it's the same in some regard, but it's not in general. So I've always been really weary about this. So if you do the whole women are afraid of men will murder them, just replace this with that, this racial and this gender, just do that. Women are afraid black men will murder them, or men are afraid black women will, steal from, whatever. I don't care. Just so is that a legitimate thing, or what do you think? I'm very curious. So type in the comments and sections. Of course you would, if you found this interesting. If you found this interesting, you wouldn't still be here 47 minutes in. Jesus Christ. If you didn't find this interesting, you would not be here for 47 minutes. You would have been gone 7 minutes ago, and that's saying it at best. So, what do you think? Is this a sexist or a discriminatory, a bigoted thing? Women are afraid of men murdering them. Is that why women don't, just leave? So here you go.
Well, the author, Me Too activist Jennifer Wright, quotes a favorite feminist adage from novelist Margaret Atwood. Men are afraid women will laugh at them. Women are afraid men will kill them. And Wright conjures alarming statistics.
Men are afraid women will laugh at them. Women are afraid men will kill them. Margaret Atwood. Yeah. Laugh at them. Yeah, I think you have to take laugh out to some degree, to where men are afraid women will falsely accuse them of rape or sexual misconduct or So I think we need to put laugh out there and really look into what that laugh really means. Because I don't think it's just laughing.
Statistics to justify the fear. For example, that 98% of homicidal partners are male. Well, that figure is beyond misleading. The author apparently didn't...
No, it's not, you neo-Nazi. No, it's not. Women are victims, men are assholes. Right? Is that how it works? I don't know.
Check the source. According to the Justice Department, approximately 30% of homicidal partners are female, 70% male. Now, all of these deaths are tragic, but they do little to support Wright's fears. There are more men who kill women than vice versa, but that's because men are more likely to kill, period. And for the most part, they kill other men. Nearly 80% of murder victims are men. The odds of a woman being killed on her date are infinitesimally small. But the odds that baseless attacks on men will weaken a great movement are high. If today's sexual reckoning is to achieve lasting progress, it must be a human undertaking. It's something men and women must work on together. We need to dispense with "men want to kill us" rhetorical fantasies. We're not in a war against half the human race. Guilt by association is wrong. And so, for that matter, is innocence by association, which is the premise behind the slogan, "Believe all women." Women, like men, are fallible beings. Even the feminist standard bearer Margaret Atwood acknowledged this in a recent article on the excesses of Me Too. "My fundamental position," Atwood said, "is that women are human beings with a full range of saintly and demonic behaviors this entails, including criminal ones. They are not angels, incapable of wrongdoing." I think her words should be etched in stone. The factual feminist is also concerned about the hysterical overreaction to anyone who dares to introduce a note of moderation. Consider what happened to the actor Matt Damon. In an interview with ABC in December of 2017, Damon described Me Too as totally necessary, and he said that all forms of harassment had to be eradicated without question. But he insisted on nuance. There is a difference, he said, between patting someone on the butt and rape or child molestation. There is a spectrum of behavior running from the iniquities of Harvey Weinstein to the boorish indiscretions of Senator Al Franken. And punishment ought to be proportionate. Minor transgressors shouldn't necessarily lose their jobs. In such...
Well, I think that pretty much sums it up to where feminists are right, to where rape is what Matt Damon wants, and what that type of dialogue ensues, interprets it down to, if you want to break it down to, is, he supports rape of women. Not rape, but women, of course. We always got to, pretend like men don't exist. And that's the annoying thing about this fucking dialogue and this type of rhetoric here. This is the fact that is that these types of rhetoric that is just shit upon so much by these feminists and these college campus leftists and so on and so forth. And mind you, I don't hate liberals, and I don't particularly hate feminists, but I don't particularly like them for sure. But it's just, I don't like people that are so fraudulent and so one-sided, and I just hate liars. And then when I broke down my life here, and it's 6 years ago when I started going to college, and I started breaking down my life 10 years ago. And when I got to college like 4 years ago, I hated liars, I hated manipulators, and all that stuff. I recognized female power over men, and I recognized female privilege, male privilege, for the most part, and all that stuff. So, when I hear women and feminists particularly talk about this type of stuff, it's just like, well, what about the other side? What about the other side? I'm not talking about the Harvey Weinstein other side. Well, they were wanting it. I mean, come on. She wore a skirt. No, that's not the... And feminists put that shit so much ingrained in your head to where that's just the norm of how it works. Anybody that says that is a douchebag and wrong. Douchebag and wrong. But if you wear the uniform and you act like the uniform, the slutty uniform, well, then there you go. It's not the uniform, it's the act, in my personal opinion. Where's the acknowledgement and the accountability towards your actions? Where is it? Sorry, I'm making spaghetti. Well, not making spaghetti. I'm reheating spaghetti that I made a couple days ago. 2 days ago. Whatever it was. homemade spaghetti. Oh, you want to learn the recipe? That'll be for another day. So yeah, it's just, oh God, I gotta hear this shit again.
Senator Al Franken. And punishment ought to be proportionate. Minor transgressors shouldn't necessarily lose their jobs. In such cases, there's a place for remorse, apology, forgiveness. Well, Damon's comments were reasonable, humane. Who could possibly disagree? Well, a lot of people apparently, more than 28,000 Me Tooers signed a petition demanding that Damon be erased from an upcoming film. Progressive Twitter was outraged. Minnie Driver, Damon's former co-star, tweeted that he was systematically part of the problem, and she'd later tell The Guardian that there is no hierarchy of abuse. It's all effing wrong. Her advice to Damon and men everywhere was to remain silent.
To remain silent. That was her advice. There is no hierarchy of abuse. That if a woman is raped, it is much worse than if a woman has a penis exposed to her that she doesn't want or ask for. You cannot tell those women that one is supposed to feel worse than the other. Okay, whoa, okay. So, let's see. Women don't want to ask for. You cannot tell those women that one is supposed to feel worse than the other. Wait, okay. So, exposing penis or raped. You cannot, so, if someone exposed their dick to you, you cannot tell women that someone exposing their dick to you or being violently raped, that there is, quote, you cannot tell those women that one is supposed to feel worse than the other. And I certainly cannot be prescribed by a man. The idea of tone deafens. The idea of tone deafness is the idea there is no equivalency. Oh, God. All right, here we go.
Time right now is for men just to listen. Well, I'm a woman, so I don't have to be silent, and I think Damon was right. Hierarchy of abuse. It's all...
Let's just listen to this shit again.
Her advice to Damon and men everywhere was to remain silent. The time right now is for men just to listen. Well, I'm a woman, so I don't have to be silent, and I think Damon was right. Many drivers claim that there is no hierarchy of abuse is incoherent. Gradations of harm and degrees of guilt are fundamental to our moral intuitions and our legal system. Our criminal laws make many fine distinctions among bad and worse actions, and so do our judgments of others in everyday life. As comedian Bill Maher pointed out, justice requires weighing things. That's why Lady Justice is holding a scale and not a sawn-off shotgun. And telling men as a species to shut up and listen, that isn't progress, it's sexism. Now, it's tempting...
No. Yeah, it's... And the fact that there's so little pushback, especially on the mainstream scale of things, of the type of shit like this. Why? Why is it so easy to point out racism from whites against people that aren't white, and men against women, LGBTQ? Because of course it's pretty much, and that's another goofy kind of smoking gun in my personal opinion. Is it's typically the vast majority of it is men, heterosexual men or gay men against LGBTQ or women and all that stuff. That is the smoking gun to where there is a lot of sexism towards men, and that's why I don't go against. I don't talk about the whole, racism against white people that much, as it being a big relevant thing. It's there, blah blah blah. It's relevant to talk about, and we need to talk about and change it, just like racism against any color, blah blah blah. But it's so much more consistent and relevant, and with the legislation relevant when it comes to just sexism in general, and especially when it comes to men. It's just like there's still, like, course, the custody battles. There's still literally men being consistently screwed out of their money, their alimony. And it's the alimony and the separation and the children and the custody battles and everything of that sort. There's still such a huge wavering difference. And mind you, these dumb fucking cunt feminists do not acknowledge the fact that these laws by the patriarchy were formed to protect women back in the day from men that would just fucking leave them. Because that happened a lot. And it still happens. But now, especially the last 20, 30, 40 years, women are now protected to where they can take alimony and take child support, and to where the legal system would get into it way, way more, to where there's way more stipulations that you can get past, etc., blah, blah, blah. There's still rules, there's still technicalities you can get over, you can still avoid it, blah, 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 we get it. But these laws have been changing for decades now. And yet, now all these modern badass women, the last 30 years, 40 years, all have jobs, all have great jobs, all these, but yet there's still all these same old jobs. If you don't want this same old legislation, same old laws, and same old gender roles and all stuff like that, why do you not fight for an inch for the guys? That's the whole thing. It's you can't just only fight for the Me Too movement and not talk about the fact that the Aziz Ansari, even though I hate that pussy whipped feminist douchebag, you still cannot at all negate the fact that one of the ladies, the whole bad date thing, you cannot negate the fact that chick was a master manipulator, violently so. Just like many situations, to where when you meet somebody you like, well, famous people, I should say, to where there's the most famous people deal with that crap, whether it's male or female. Doesn't matter. People will try to manipulate you. You gotta you gotta suck both sides of the dick. You gotta suck both balls, whatever metaphor you like.
To dismiss Twitter mobs, internet petitioners, and denunciations from angry co-stars is just a lot of noise. But people who are subject to such attacks are rightly fearful for their careers. And that noise seems to have intimidated Mr. Damon. On January 16th, he issued an apology on the Today Show. Boy, I really wish I'd listened a lot more before I weighed in on this. Well, what I wish is that Damon did not have to issue a ritual recantation.
And James Franco was on the Seth Rogen show or the Tonight Show or whatever it was, and he said the same thing. Well, I'll just shut back and listen. See, this is where oppression and sexism is going on. And if we're against oppression and sexism, we need to be against oppression and sexism. The Me Too movement is not about women being violated against men. Feminism is not about women being oppressed by men. It's about gender equality. For some reason, these dumb fucking feminists and these social justice warriors and these leftist nutcase liberals always preach the same thing. Well, I'm a feminist, I'm a Black Lives Matter, I'm a this, I'm a that, and I believe in equality for all. But when it comes down to it, I just want these men or these white people or these white men or these heterosexuals to shut their mouth and just listen. Well, is that how it's supposed to be across the board all the time? Okay, well, that's not. So you want to fight oppression with oppression and racism with racism and sexism with sexism. Okay, well, that doesn't make quite sense here. if burn the candles at both ends, I guess. Go do your thing. And that's why social justice warriors will lose in the end, because they burn the candles at both ends.
And that men and women could discuss the issues freely and rationally. If men and women of goodwill could work together, they can make historic progress in the fight against harassment and abuse. But to succeed, the movement is going to have to channel its outrage and confront its own excesses. Let me know your thoughts about what I've said in the comments section. If you like this video, please show your support by subscribing to the series and following me on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching The Factual Feminist.
All right, like I said, you just got done watching, or listening. I just got done watching. You just got done listening to The Factual Feminist from the what was it? The white nationalist neo-Nazi party. You just got done watching the YouTube channel American Enterprise Institute. The Dr. Christine Hoff Summers, The Factual Feminist YouTube channel here. Just look up American Enterprise Institute, and that's their channel. And Dr. Christine Hoff Summers is not the only one that is with merit here. I like both of the sides here, but yeah, I like what she has to say here. Like pretty much always, typically. I mean, I typically support her. So I mean, yeah, it's just it's just interesting to hear such a division with feminists. Yeah, it's weird. But let's. I actually just rolled up on this video. It's Condoleezza Rice on the Me Too movement. Let's not turn women into snowflakes. Okay, so let's turn this in to this audio here. As I take 5 minutes. There we go, and there we go.
You have worked in the most exclusive male corridors of power almost your entire adult life. I mean, for crying out loud, you were the first woman admitted to Augusta,
Right.
The most exalted male preserve. Have you been exposed to harassment over the years?
Oh, I've certainly had people say inappropriate things. I've certainly had people suggest that maybe we should just go out and in situations in which it was somebody more senior than I. And I've never faced a quid pro quo, an explicit quid pro quo. I've never had anyone do anything that I would consider assault. But I don't know a woman alive who hasn't had somebody say or do something that was inappropriate at best and aggressive at worst.
Exactly. And you know what, guys? Men, we need to change that shit by far. I'm not that type of guy. You know, of course, I'm an angel. Of course, that's what the point is, right? But we men really need to change that fact. The fact that so many women have these complaints and these experiences is depressing, at least depressing. It's embarrassing. It's pathetic. And pretty barbaric. It really is. But with this whole being exposed to the whole men are evil, sexist, all this stuff like that, and all this other legitimate and overbearing or sexist, against men, blah thing, is what I think is also barbaric, and even potentially even more barbaric, is the fact that when men voice their sides of things, not the whole the Me Too movement really needs to, or that women really need to not dress in skirts, not that shit. It's that when men talk about the whole, I've had experiences where women were. It's just like, how many dudes really do that? And the sad thing is, there's as much, if not more, if not less, men that have the same experience with women. I can't count how many times I've had experiences with ladies that was very, very criminal worthy, if you will. Oh, that was because you were doing it. No, that's not what I said at all. That was well. What you're saying is that's the Nancy way of going about it, right? No, what I'm saying actually is that in my experience, most of my abusive encounters where I was the victim of abuse was from women being abusive. So what you're saying is you provoked it because, but I don't like when people blame women for wearing skirts and they got raped or sexually assaulted. But can we just be against like rape and sexual assault and abuse? Like, can we just be against that rather than just have a gender tag on it? Can we be against racial discrimination without it being a thing where just tribalism is just consumed by it? I mean, Jesus Christ. If men were honest, dude, the amount of stories that men would have to say about women sexually abusing them, assaulting them, being nasty towards them. I'm talking about legal stuff, especially legal stuff. It'd be through the roof. And this whole feminist, fantasy land of where men do way so much more. It's like, I bet you haven't heard men's side, especially when you manipulate the man's side to where you ignore it or you put it to where it's a toxic masculinity. All this shit. It's just ridiculous.
I think that the movement to expose these circumstances is a good thing. Let's clear the air about it. I do think we have to be a little bit careful. Let's not turn women into snowflakes. Let's not infantilize women. And what I really don't want to happen is I don't want it to get to a place that men start to think, well, maybe it's just better not to have women around. I've heard a little bit of that, and it worries me.
Did you see Oprah's speech at the
I did.
Golden
I
Globe?
read it.
Better to not have women around, and that includes something to where we're getting back to the woman-hating, oppressive, whatever it is, patriarchy, to where women won't be get hired, women won't be getting the opportunities, women won't be getting the fair shake. And also the fact that where men just do not want to be around women and just exclude themselves around women. And we need to find a balance between, and I mean, mind you, the Me Too movement, it's not a overwhelming majority or whatever to where it's just like totally screwed up. It's like there's like a very, 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 very small case to where the whole Me Too movement is screwed up towards men. But I'm paranoid that it will be eventually. But so far, it's been phenomenal. It's gotten evil pigs, misogynist evil pigs out of the way. And so, it's gotten pigs out of the way at least, so there's that, Kevin Spacey, I don't think you'd call him a misogynist if if he was doing that towards boys. Maybe, feminists would love to claim that it's misogynist to, rape and fuck up, for men to fucking rape boys, but, who knows? Who knows? But it's the Me Too movement is doing a really good job so far. But the Aziz Ansari thing is got a little chink in the armor there. So hopefully, it'll get back on track to where women will put themselves and men will put each other in check to where it's. The Me Too movement is not a witch hunt. That's the thing. Cannot be a witch hunt. But I'm done babbling. This was the second part of my podcast. But yeah, it's just, I'm done here. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. All negative 4 of you. I appreciate it. Hope you guys like my new logo and all that crap. I spent 5 minutes on it, and you can tell I spent 5 minutes on it. But yeah, thank you guys very much for listening to the last podcast for what it's worth. I appreciate you guys, and submit your questions and comments and all that stuff on the YouTube page, on the Events Affected podcast and all that crap. I'm gonna get everything organized to where there will be a Twitter and all that stuff. I gotta get my ducks in a row with all that stuff. So where I can get an email and all that stuff, to where I can get to where I can have the comments and questions and stuff like that, to where I can read them live and all that stuff like that. So submit your comments and questions. Don't be shy and all that stuff. So yeah, just submit your comments and questions. I don't care what it is. Hate me, love me, I don't care. I really don't care. Just topics that you're interested in, topics that you're interested in what my take is on them, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I much rather just have you guys' take on it so I can bounce back off your ideas rather than it just being me just babbling, for the last 75 minutes. 75 minutes. Been babbling by myself. So, yeah. Just go to the YouTube page and do all that. Do your comments and questions. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Have a good night, you guys.